there. I think it's more of the same that we talked about last week. I just wanted to get updates on where we are, and then hopefully have some discussion at the end of other things that are going on. So I don't know, Sunny, if you want to
Sure.
provide a gRPC update.
Yeah, so we have all the code that was necessary for gRPC adapters for no session based adapters has been checked in. I have a walkthrough guide that I'm writing right now. I'm almost done, so I'll send that out, and then hopefully write some reference talks tomorrow. But I think it's mainly going to be referencing. A lot of documentation is already in the protos, so it's just going to be an addition of whatever we had in the existing adapter developer guide. So yeah, that's the status. And then Mandar, when he comes back, he will resume. The things that are left is we don't have auth support right now, and no session adapters are not in there. So those two things, when he comes back, he's going to be starting to work on it.
Okay. Great. Is the Prometheus demo adapter, is that checked in somewhere? I can't remember.
Yeah, it is checked in. Okay. in the walkthrough, I'm going to refer to the two checked in adapters. They have the test right next to it, so it works on its own, and even the Docker files and everything, make files are in there. So if anybody wants to try out full fledged, they should be able to do it.
Okay. Cool. On the CRD refactor, I guess that means that all of the gRPC adapters use the new handler model.
Right.
And there's a PR out for support for conversion of existing handlers to the new model. So that should be in hopefully sometime soon.
Okay. Oh, you updated? I have. It's probably on me to review. I missed out that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, that'd be great.
I can take a look.
I think it switched everything over to the. Now I guess it's like static and dynamic are the distinctions versus legacy and whatever was there before. So there's some changes there with some testing, and then I can start, when that's in, I'll start going back and converting all of the old GIDs and stripping out the config.
So I wanted to discuss this one a little bit. So currently we have, unless you have something else, Doug, on this one. CRE factor?
No, that's it. Just that need review. So yeah.
Okay. So I was thinking about this, since right now the model we have is when somebody writes an instance, say for example he writes request count, and then if he wants, so if the same instance needs to be repeated again, if we want to use it for the out of proc based model. Because then there is a field called adapter that the instance, sorry, not the adapter, but the template the instance is referencing, or the other one is called compiled in template.
Okay.
So I was thinking, can we somehow ditch that completely? And if user just writes it once, and if there exists both a compiled in and a non-compiled in, then we can in memory duplicate those things, because everything else is just the same. The param stanza is the same. So instead of user writing, it's going to be syntactic. It's our current code remains the same. We can continue to keep two different in memory objects, but when user is giving it to us, we can probably make two copies. So they just write it as just one CR. The place where we eventually would want to distinguish is the handler block. Handler refers to the adapter. If the handler has a connection stanza inside its thing, then that would mean it is a remote one, a remote handler. And if it doesn't, so a user might have to make 2 copies of the handler, which is fine, but at least the instances can be reused across the board.
So is this the case where the templates would have the same names, compiled in and non-compiled in, or like how do we know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does this assume that they have the same schema then? They're the same template, it's just two different locations for it?
Good question. So if it's compiled in,
Like, why do we want the compiled in ones?
compiled in templates.
Yeah.
At least for now, if we're having the compiled in adapters, we actually don't need, if we are ready to pay the cost of transforming and let me think. Yeah, so we would need to put a shim for if we continue to have the compiled in adapters, which are working off the Go interface, then we would need a shim. So we would need 2 things. One is a shim to transform the bytes that we can generate from the non-compiled in templates. And we should be okay paying the cost of the transformation from, as opposed to creating Go structs directly. If we are okay with those 2, then we don't need the compiled in templates at all.
So, wait, Martin, are you proposing we get rid of all compiled in templates all throughout Mixer altogether?
Yeah. Well, just as a straw man, yeah. Like, ultimately, at this point, given the technology we've got for the gRPC adapters, we could support linked-in adapters with no custom code gen. And I think that'd be desirable.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. There was some noise on the line.
Yeah, so given the conversion and the stuff we've developed for the gRPC-based adapters, we should be able to have built-in adapters that don't have without custom code gen.
Built-in adapters. Just because they will supply the templates in the handler or in the CRDs in the CRs themselves.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, so I guess maybe it's not true. If we change the signature of the adapters to take protos, then we could do that. But if it's still taking Go structs, we still end up needing a little bit of shim.
Yeah. So there is shim code gen, but that would be the responsibility of the adapter developer. So he would, the thing that he would give us would be along with the shim.
Yeah.
Right, and they're using this external tool to create the shim. So from the mixer's point of view, it is still an adapter coming in.
Do we have a place? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so the main issue, I think that's probably the right direction. The main issue is the amount of time we have to get this done. We probably need to be on the expedient path rather than on the purely correct path.
Do we have a place where we're going to stick well-known templates? Is there such a concept anymore?
In the directory, like in the code base?
Yeah, like where would I put one? Do I put it?
Oh,
I'm just trying to.
the CR for the well-known templates?
Yeah, do we just put it in the Helm install? Is that where it lives? And that's.
It's like a reasonable place.
Yeah, so yes, I think it's already checked in. No, so right now all the templates, CR for the templates are checked into right next to the template directory, inside the template directory. So do we want to copy it into the install, or we should just be able to pull in those files?
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't thought through this, so that's why I'm asking now. I don't.
Well, how do we pick? How do the current definitions for the adapter CRDs, the adapter CRs, how do they get into the build?
They're just part of, okay, for the current ones.
Yeah, like that's defining the Prometheus format, config format.
for the compiled in, it is all code, right? We don't have CRs for that.
We don't?
Yeah, for the
No,
compiled in adapters. Compiled in adapters we just call get info. We just have an inventory file.
No, but we need how does the user define a CRD for the Prometheus adapter?
The CRD is defined in the config map that gets deployed as part of the install in the Helm templates, right?
Yes, I guess I don't understand how it goes from config.proto in the source code all the way into that file at install time.
Oh, I think that's a manual process now.
Oh, really?
We created it once and then created these templates from that, and then from there we run a little batch job at install that pushes them in.
Okay, so we need something similar for this then.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Okay.
Yeah, so do we want to work on not requiring people to duplicate the instance CRs? If so, then we will have to, I mean, the code, I guess, we can ditch the field of compiled in template from the instance stanza and do some code magic on our end.
Yeah, I think having a difference between the built-in adapters versus the external adapters is not a good thing. From an operator standpoint, I'd rather try and erase that as much as possible. Yeah, otherwise you're kind of creating these artificial, hard to predict boundaries between things.
Okay. So it sounds like, I think that makes sense. We want to move away from the compiled in templates.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason we did a lot of the code gen in the first place was because we didn't have the cool technology we have now in this space.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of like layers of sort of crust there that would be nice to trim out. I was hoping, is Kawat on the line? No. I was hoping you could get an update on the client-side reports. Peter, have you been playing with that?
Yeah, I'm testing with testing out.
All right. Testing underway. And this will impact telemetry and moving forward. So like as soon as, I think the big thing here is as soon as it's working, we need to make sure we update all of our metrics and dashboards and logs and everything to reflect the context reporter attribute so that we're not double counting and we're not lying about where the data is coming from. And so we can tease out client and server-side latency, that kind of stuff. So this came up in tracing because all of a sudden now we're getting client-side spans as well, and we weren't separating them. So that's the current status. This is sort of my high-level summary. And that relates to this attribute changes and pending metric changes. I just wanted to mention that now that we've switched over to source workload or workload-based sort of orientation and the attributes, especially as it resolves the source, we need to start thinking about a way that we want to reflect something that crosses deployments. And we need to update all the metrics and logs and everything to reflect the workloads. So I think I'm going to be starting that work in the next couple of days so that we can hopefully have something that we can run through testing next week. Because I think the proposed target for cut for 1.0 is the 14th of July, which with the 4th of July holiday really doesn't leave that much time. And so we need any big changes that we have left need to get in as soon as possible. And this, I think, is a rather significant set of changes.
Yeah, yeah.
So just watch for those PRs, and then I beg the community at large for testing and feedback on the results of that to make sure it makes sense. So we know around the 14th of July what course we need to change. That's my simple request. I don't have a whole lot else that I was thinking about. I don't know, does anyone else have things that they want to discuss or bring up or talk about this week? Has anyone been looking at health checks and Mix's role in health checks? Has anyone been following that? I know there was a proposal that Mandar sent out, and I know there's some PRs out right now on the repo related to that. I was just wondering, I'm trying to come up to speed on that quickly, but I don't have the full context. Has anyone been looking at that, or?
I did read Mandar's doc, and my main suggestion was to kind of broaden the use of that port to be more than just a health Z port. We can hang other stuff off of there and probably integrate it with Control Z. But I don't think he had any follow up on these after the initials. After he sent the doc initially, I don't think there's been any follow up because he's been busy on this adapter stuff.
Right. Yeah. I feel like this is, I don't know if this is, I don't know, Martin, maybe you have an insight here. I don't know if this is something we should escalate and make sure it gets resolved before 1.0. I mean, I feel like this is something that's relatively important to have someone look at. I just don't know where the bandwidth comes. So that's why I've been trying to catch up today basically on what's happening there.
Yeah, so we can't do magic, and the worst we could do is cram in a feature that's half-baked and destabilizes things. So I'd rather just punt. There's always going to be a next release.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think like what the alternatives would be, because I think right now people are just getting like flooded with traces that are from the kubelet hitting their health check service. Constantly. So just a ton of data. And so I need to figure out if there's like a quick fix for filtering all that out.
Are you going to check in the change to the standard IO adapter?
Yes, I would like to get that in as well. And that might be part of it, maybe. Just limit, like start sampling in various places, but.
Do you think it's worth investing in adding buffering in there for 1.0? In that adapter?
Sure. I mean, I think the changes to standard IO are fairly, they're localized and fairly easy to do. So yeah, if you think that's should be added to that, I'll just go ahead and add it and then commit.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look at it. I think I'm not sure where the buffering should happen. I don't know if it's possible to easily add a buffered IO stream underneath the Zap logger, or somehow I need to buffer on top and then send it in batches or something.
Or even before we call the logger, right? We could buffer at a higher level.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's probably the easiest.
Either at the top or at the bottom somewhere.
Yeah. I was thinking the quickest fix is top, and then we don't have to worry about how the underlying thing works. But yeah, you're right. Maybe it's worth figuring out.
No, actually,
you probably have a solution.
Yeah, you can't do it at the top because ultimately you need to call one log statement, make one log call for every log entry. So I could accumulate that all upstairs and then just call log for everyone, but that'll still end up with synchronous IO for every single one of them. So I think you need to be underneath the log thing and just accumulate the data and then write to the IO stream just once.
That's a good point. Yeah, okay. I was thinking, because it doesn't write in batch, yeah.
That's the problem.
There's no log multiple entries.
Exactly.
As far as we know, right?
Yeah, that's the problem. So hopefully I can just stick a custom IO stream in there that does buffering and then writes to the real IO stream. I just never looked into that.
Okay, yeah, then I won't include that as part of that PR. We'll do that separately, but I think that's important. And both will have a significant impact on perf. Oh, I guess that's the other thing, like, do we have any updates? Is anyone tracking perf or anything?
I emailed Wayne yesterday. He said he added performance counters, but we've never gotten numbers out of them. There's a task force or SWAT team that started for perf, and some of these issues are around measuring what's going on in the mixer client. Nobody's got, as far as I saw the document from the working group, there's no concrete ideas on how to improve performance. It's just, let's see what's going on.
Okay. So we're still early days there. Okay.
Or late days, depending on.
Well, yeah. Well, that's sort of it.
In general, as we were talking about the template stuff in the beginning, I think it's fine for us to burn a few cycles in Mixer for the sake of keeping things simple and more generic, because that's not where our performance is going. The performance is all in the I/O and in the client side, so it's better to optimize for simplicity and consistency.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it is sort of strange when you look at the traces, how little time is spent actually in the computation side of it versus everything else. So,
yeah, we did a good job overall. That's what it means. Within the boundaries of the architecture, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, well, unless someone else has something they want to share or talk about or bring up, I think we can adjourn.
All right. See you guys later.
Okay. Bye, everyone.